individual initiative, but also an America that invests in its people and its future. An America that invests in the education of our children, in the skills of our workers. We believe in an America in which we look after one another, where I say, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. That's our vision. That's the America that I believe in, and that Mark believes in, and that you believe in. That's the choice in this election. If you give the other side the keys, the other side will keep giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. Mark and I, we want to give tax breaks to companies that are investing right here in Minnesota, right here in the United States, in small businesses and American manufacturers. We want to invest in clean energy companies because I don't want solar panels and wind turbines and electric cars built in Europe or built in Asia. I want them built right here in America with American workers. That's the choice in this election. If we give them the keys, here's their big economic idea. This is their big job plan, is to cut taxes for the top 2%. It'll cost $700 billion. It'll be an average $100,000 check for millionaires and billionaires. 98% of folks would not see any of this money from this tax break. And to pay for it, we'd have to borrow money from China. Oh, and by the way, we'd also have to cut education spending by 20%. Now, why on earth do we think that would be good for our future? Do you think that China is cutting education spending by 20%? Is South Korea or India or Germany, are they cutting education by 20%? They're not playing for second place. They understand that our competitiveness will be determined by how well we educate our workers for tomorrow. And America doesn't play for second place either. We play for first place. That's why Amy, that's why Al, that's why we worked together, Keith and Betty. That's why we came together to make sure that we took tens of billions of dollars that were going to banks in unwarranted subsidies, and we sent that money where it should be going, to you. We are financing millions of young people's college educations more effectively now. Higher Pell Grants, better student loans, a $10,000 tax credit for every young person going to college. Those are the kinds of choices we're making. And that's the choice in this election. That's why when it comes to tax cuts, we gave 95% of working families a tax cut. We gave the tax cuts to families that needed them, not folks who didn't need them, because we know you're the ones that need relief. That's the choice in this election. We give the other side the keys back, and I promise you we'll have those special interests sitting shotgun. The chair of one of the other party's committees already promised that one of the first orders of business is to repeal Wall Street reform. Now think about this. We just had the worst financial crisis since the 1930s, and one of their first orders of business would be to eliminate protections for consumers, eliminate protections for taxpayers, go back to a system that resulted in us having to save the entire economy and take these drastic measures. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Why would we go back to the point where credit card companies could jack up your interest rates without any notice and could institute hidden fees? Why would we go back to the health care policies that they believe in, where insurance companies can drop your insurance when you get sick. Why would we put those folks back in the driver's seat? Let me tell you about health care reform. Because of health care reform, everybody here who is under 26 can stay on their parents' health care even if they don't have health insurance. Because of that reform, insurance companies can't drop somebody because they've got a pre-existing condition. Because of health care reform, millions of small businesses are getting tax credits so they can afford to provide health insurance to their employees. That is their agenda, to repeal that? Let me tell you something. We believe in making sure people don't get ripped off when they sign up for a mortgage. We believe in making sure that credit card companies treat you fairly. We believe taxpayers shouldn't ever be forced to pay for Wall Street's mistakes. We believe that insurance companies should cover you when you've been paying your premiums. That's what we believe. That's the choice in this election. That's why you've got to elect Mark Dayton governor, because he believes it too. Whether you care about protecting Social Security or you care about protecting our environment, whether you care about having an energy policy that can start freeing ourselves from dependence on foreign oil, or you believe in a foreign policy that fosters cooperation among other nations, there is a choice in this election. We know what we're fighting for, but right now the same special interests that we've battled on your behalf, they're fighting back hard. Mark mentioned it. They are spending millions of dollars. They want to roll back the clock, and they are pouring millions of dollars through a network of phony front groups, flooding the airwaves with misleading attack ads, smearing fine public servants like Mark. And thanks to a gigantic loophole, these special interests can spend unlimited amounts without even disclosing where the money's coming from. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know if it's from the oil industry. We don't know if it's from banks. We don't know if it's insurance companies. Could be coming overseas. We don't know. They won't tell you. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. They won't stand behind what they do. This isn't just a threat to Democrats. This is a threat to our democracy. Minnesota has always had a tradition of clean, fair elections, a tradition of good government. We don't. And the only way to uphold that tradition, the only way to match their millions of dollars, is with millions of voices. Millions of voices who are ready to finish what we started in 2008. And that's where all of you come in. That's why all of you have got to get out. All of you have to vote. If you are not registered to vote yet, you can walk in right now. You can register anytime between now and Election Day. There is no excuse. Because if everybody who fought for change in 2008 votes in 2010, then Mark will win his election. A lot of you got involved in 2008 because you believed we were in a defining moment. There was a time when the decisions we make now would have an impact across the decades, would impact our children, our grandchildren, for decades to come. That's the reason you knocked on doors and you made phone calls and some of you cast your vote for the very first time, because you believed that in America, citizens who want to make their country better can make a difference. And you know what? I told you then, 2 years ago I told you, the change is not easy. Power does not give up without a fight. And I understand that some of you, since election night and inauguration day, when, you know, it was a lot of fun. Beyonce was singing and Bono and everybody had their hope posters and everything looked like it might be easy. And I warned folks then, this won't be easy. Power concedes nothing without a fight. And so for the last 2 years, we have been grinding it out. We passed health care reform, but it was a hard fight. We passed Wall Street reform, but it was a hard fight. And now, you know, now maybe some people are feeling discouraged, thinking, boy, you know, this is harder than I expected. And maybe all that work that I did in 2008, maybe it didn't make as much of a difference as I had hoped. But I want everybody here to understand, don't let anybody tell you that what you did has not made a difference, that the fight isn't worth it. Because of you, there's somebody in Minnesota right now that instead of going bankrupt is able to get treatment for their cancer. Because of you, there's a young person who's going to be able to go to college. Because of you, some small businesses stayed open in the depths of a recession. Because of you, there are 100,000 brave young men and women who we've brought home from Iraq. Because of you. Because of you. So don't let them tell you that change is impossible. It's just hard, that's all. And that's okay. We've got to earn it. We're just in the first quarter. We got a lot more quarters to play. You know, this country was founded on a tough, difficult idea. 13 colonies deciding to break off from the most powerful empire on earth. And then drafting a document, a declaration of independence that embodied ideas that had never been tried before. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's not an easy idea. And it had to be fought for, inch by inch, year by year. Slowly, slaves were freed. Slowly, women got the right to vote. Slowly, workers got the right to organize. Imagine if our grandparents and our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents had said, oh, this is too hard. Folks are saying mean things about us. I'm not sure if we can ever get to the promised land. We wouldn't be here today. But they understood that we are tested when we stand up in the face of difficulty, when we stand up in the face of uncertainty, when we're unafraid to push forward, because we know we're doing it not just for ourselves, but for future generations. That's how we came through war and depression. That's why we have civil rights and women's rights and workers' rights. That's why we've been able to clean up our air and clean up our water. That's why we've been able to end combat operations in one war. The journey we began together was never about putting me in the White House. It was about building a movement for change that endures. It's about understanding that in America, anything is possible if we're willing to work for it and fight for it, and most of all, believe in it. So I need you to keep fighting. I need you to keep working, and I need you to keep believing. And if you knock on some doors again, if you make some phone calls again, if you talk to your neighbors again, if you go to vote again, then I promise you, we won't just win this election. We won't just have Mark as governor, but you and I together, we are going to restore the American dream for future generations. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.